you very much for coming out for this wonderful event. I've been working against the problems at Hanford for many years, and I hope to live long enough to see it to its completion and shut down Hanford, hand it back to the indigenous persons in this country, and clean up the wonderful Columbia River. Yay! We drove up along the river, and it is one of the jewels of our country. And it is being defiled by greed, poor politics, and warmongers. We could live without Hanford if the Department of War, commonly called the Department of Defense, did not decide that this was a good area to put a nuclear plant. They did this over the bodies of a lot of indigenous people. The treaties were very often breached by government. The indigenous persons lost their land, their heritage, their fishing. They lost their agriculture, and more or less lost their lives as they knew it. We need to restore Hanford to what it was intended to be, a land for the people who lived here long before we came here. And right now, the Department of Energy is in charge of management of Hanford. And whom do we trust? Do we trust the Department of Energy? No. They are run by the oil companies. They're run by the nuclear industry. They're run by the Keystone Pipeline. They do not enforce environmental laws. They're in cahoots with everything that is bad in our country. And yet, they rule Hanford. And I would suggest that in the future, our elected officials, and we have right now 9 elected officials, 2 of them from the east side of the mountain, and you would think that they would be very concerned what happens right here. Yeah. But we do not hear from them. Yeah. We have a Democratic governor, and we have 5 Democratic congresspeople, and all they want to do is collect more money from the spoilers, from the industries that pollute, from the industries that would take away our equal rights, get money from them to run for re-elections. Are we going to re-elect them? No! I think they should be thrown out altogether, every one of them, and get substituted by people who really are interested in what happens to the population and not to the corporations. So I would suggest that the Department of War, which already takes 50% of our national budget, to have wars all over the world. And if they don't have one there yet, they'll have one tomorrow. And they will spend the hard-earned money that the taxpayers put in to pollute more and to promote more wars and more mayhem in the world. And also, we are losing not only our economy, we're losing the friendship of many nations in the world who just do not want to deal with us any longer. And I would like to know what they're going to do when everything is so polluted that we cannot survive. Do they think they and their descendants are going to survive? They're in this with us. They just don't want to acknowledge it, because eventually the other nations will not buy our grains, our fruit. They will not buy our meat because the irrigation comes from a polluted river. And the food, the stuffs that we ship out is contaminated And other nations are going to say, we will just not take it anymore. And what are we going to export then? More weapon systems, more drones, more bunker busters? We need to take back our government. And we probably have to work a little harder than we already are to get that accomplished. So I thank you very much for coming. And I always say, each one, teach one. So go out and talk to your neighbor, the people who still don't believe that we are in this shape we are in. Get them to come out and get them to help us to finally have victories with Hanford and other problems areas like the Trident nuclear missile site. Thank you for coming.